Alright guys, welcome back to part 2 of Last Note of the Golden Witch. Yeah, like I said, we'll be starting off in this position instead of in the actual video because of the hotkeys. But now we can click on the video, we're fine. And why is Battler smiling? Yeah, let's make sure the quality is 1080p. It is. It's on auto, but it's on 1080p now. So yeah, we left off on Peace making, well, she's the game master appointed here by Federine, and she made this game board where she took over Angie. No, she took over Kiria first when she went out with Rudolph. Someone took over Kiria and became Rudolph's new new wife. Like she became Peace Tsushima, Rudolph's new wife, and then everyone accepted it. Like everyone went along with it in the game board. Like yeah, sure. But the only one who suspected something was Angie. But then she got taken over. So now Peace is both. Now Peace has become Angie. And what? Wait, what happened with that again? Actually, maybe I do need to rewatch that part because that was like very confusing. I think she took over both Angie and. Oh yeah, she ate her, and now he doesn't have a sister at all. Actually, that's crazy. So she's only Kiria. She completely ate Angie away. So yeah, I wonder what's going on. What's gonna happen with that? But we left on 104, right? So yeah, we're about to start off the game board here. And the question we are being asked is who is Peace? So it's slightly different from Berto's question of who am I, even though everyone died or the bomb blew up everybody, right? So who am I? Berto asked. That was her question, but it was also to find out her inner heart, right? Like find out her motivation. That was the big thing, right? But with Peace, the only thing we are being sent to figure out is who she is. She's someone that has been here since episode 1. That was set in red from episode 1 to episode 8. But we don't know who. We don't know who she is. And we have to figure it out throughout this extra arc at some point. Right now, I'm still unsure. But and she's always had the ability to eat someone and take over them and become them. She's always had the ability since episode 1, but never used it until now. That was also said in red. So I'm trying to think who could have such an ability, but it doesn't come to mind. So I'll continue reading. Obviously, I'm sure by the end of this arc, it'll be spelled out for us. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, for now, I'm not too sure. The fact that you can eat Kirie and Rudolph just says, "Yeah, you're my wife, Peace Shiromiya," is a bit weird. And Angie's the only one that was not convinced. Like, no, this ain't my mother. So that's why that's a bit trippy. Okay. So we'll continue. We'll read another hour this part, and then I did say I might read part 2 and part 3 at the same time, but I might get hungry after reading this. I'm not gonna lie. I'm already a little hungry now. So I haven't eaten since morning. So I'll record this, maybe eat, and then come back to record part 3. Because I did say I might record part 2 and part 3 back to back, but I might not actually. We'll see. But yeah, for now we'll read an hour or so. We'll get to like the 2 hour mark or so down here, alright? And then part 3 will be the finale. And that'll be it for Umineko. That's a bit weird to think about, huh? Peace! Alright, as you wish, I'll fast forward past the charades and the garbage illusions. Peace, an intruder from another realm who has blended into the Ushirome family. Although they couldn't prevent her invasion, Kinto and Beto detected here because of a slight feeling of discomfort. detected her, I'm guessing, is what it's supposed to say. Yeah, there's a lot of spelling errors in these, both in this one and in our confession. That weren't there when I was reading through the Umineko project, at least, when I read through the main visual novel. I mean, there were rare spelling or grammatical errors, but it was very rare when reading the visual, like the main arcs in the visual novel by the Umineko project, right? Um, but here there's quite a bit in our confession and last note. There's enough here to almost fill out the entire visual novel, I feel like. I'm assuming they meant her. They couldn't prevent her invasion, Kins and Beta detected her because of a slight feeling of discomfort. Okay. Kinzo and Beto, as well as Genji, Shannon, and Kanon, confronted the witch from another world who claimed the name Peace Ushiromiya. However, while they realized Peace was an uninvited guest from another world, they didn't realize that there have already been 2 sacrifices. Both Kiryu Ushiromiya and Enji Ushiromiya have already been erased from this world, as well as the fact that they existed. When a powerful foreign body tries to unilaterally alter the world, or just a fragment, it triggers a defensive antibody reaction. But even then, it is difficult to fully convince them that Peace Ushiromiya was an enemy. The strong barrier would alert them to any visitors from a different fragment, alerting them to her. Wait a minute. Okay. Alerting them to her, okay. However, as everybody faced off against Peace, they recognized her as a familiar relative, Peace Ushiromiya. What? So, like, they recognized that she was an intruder, but at the same time, they recognized her as a family member or relative. Huh? She just completely took over the game board. Beat immediately saw through this intense sense of discomfort. It was a pest with the power to devour an opponent's existence and all fragments of their story. Perhaps. Oh, okay, Genji is speaking, I was gonna say. In addition to Shannon and Kanon, there could have been one more servant with the on sound in their name. Had somebody just been sacrificed as a lesson? Huh? The only other on servant we know of is Lunon, right? We heard that name in like episode 3 or something. That's the only other on servant name. The heck is going on? Another on servant? If 6-year-old me got my existence traced from this farce from the beginning? Hmm?
それもそうだな。黄金のインゴットを積み上げられたって。俺は妹が存在しないなんて茶番を、それも演者の目の前で断じて受け入れたりするもんか。
お兄ちゃん。
Hey!
おいピース。こ
のブラコン丸飲みしてもいいぞ。
Brocon.
ボクシングの試合で大手飛車蹴りはしませんのでピー。
Let's go, Kanon. I think he's getting swallowed up. In the meantime, the 5 people led by Kins and Beato quickly reduced in number. Even though they couldn't remember how many people were originally in the group, a distorted, strange battle ensued. Beato, the last one left, is fighting to contain her bewilderment amidst a fierce sense of disorientation. Was I really fighting this monster all by myself? Didn't I have allies fighting alongside me? Has she tampered with the world to make it as if I had been fighting alone from the beginning?
この化け物め。
ありがとうねピー。
Beast!
我がアイリスが最も喜ばれるサーチでピー。
What the... What? Even Peace is surprised by that. Are they fighting in her stomach?
これ
Is she gonna vomit? Peace's hair, which had gulped down 5 people, spit something out in disgust. So she swallowed them with her hair, right? That thing was invisible to the untrained eye. The existence of the swallowed victims.
なるほど。魔に通じる者たちはただの人間と違って簡単に丸飲みできるわけではないということでピースか。え最後の最後まで小賢しいやつらでピー。
It seemed that she couldn't entirely erase the fact that Kitty and Angie existed. Angie and Kitty's names and family names were erased, but it seems those 5 didn't lose that.
まあいいでピー。これで邪魔者はいなくなりましたのでピー。でもそろそろ楽しかったハロウィンパーティーもお開きですね。セイヤお兄さんかわいそう。ゴーダさんと熊沢さんの2人だけで後片付けになっちゃいまピだからね。でピー。
Or so she thought. A couple of servants who she hadn't seen before materialized and began cleaning up the mess. Since she ate 3 of the servants, Genji, Sharon, and Kanon, she thought the servants would have a difficult time tonight, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. There's more servants? I'm confused. I don't get that. The lively and fun Halloween party gradually became a relaxed and laid-back one. In that way, the party came to an end as the night drew to a close. Everybody was smiling. Nobody was sad. It was a night full of happiness for all.
愉快でた
Core! Yes, sir! You guys probably recommended me to read this just for me to hear Core again. Dude, this was my favorite soundtrack back when we did episode 1 and 2. They spammed that in episode 1 and 2, and then they stopped using it. I was, in the later episodes, they didn't use it. I love this OST.
楽しいド派手魔法バトルもせっかくご用意していたのですが、シャバンは嫌いだと仰せですので、ざっくりはしょらせていただきましたのでピー。ちょっと残念でピタ。
構わんわ。料理の説明が長くて冷めてしまっては何の意味もない。
配膳は手早く。出来たての熱々を食わせるのがレストランの基本だろ。
ではあるけれど、食器も揃わないうちから素手でがっつくのはさすがにノーマナーよね。全くその通りで、素手で食べろなどという野望を申すつもりはございません。
Uncivilized, huh?
赤いフォークでも青いスプーンでも存分にご所望くださいでピース。まずは私たちが求めるべき答え、つまりこの魔女の正体、それについてもう少しはっきりさせておきたいわ。
そなたはエピソード1からエピソード8までの間に存在している
Episode
一
1.
人の人物であったな。さらに明確にしてもらおう。その人物とは
我ら三人が全員認知できているものなのであろうな。
I love this OST. Define, recognize.
エピソード8の中でラムダデルタ教のご友人にはとんでもない化け物が多いというような表現が出てくる。仮にこの化け物の中の一人が正解だったなら、確かにかけら中に登場はしているが、俺たちは誰も名前を知らない。よって俺たちに正解は不可能ってことになる。
はあ、なるほど。わかりました。それでは赤で申し上げまピース。私の名前はあなた方3人がはっきりと知っている
Definitely know my name.
つまり私の存在と名前は皆様の知っているものの中に含まれているということです。
And he can take over people's
知ってい
bodies?
る。つまり私たちは会ったことがあるということ？
Well, yeah, there are persons in episode 1 through 8. Every single person that we know by name that has appeared in every episode 1 through 8 is a person that we've met. Surely, has to be, right? Because there are some other characters like that I know, but you guys might not know. But they weren't there in every episode. Like Jessica's friend, they were only there in episode 2, right? Or at least only mentioned in episode 2. Or your friends from school, Angie, they might have been mentioned by name, but that was only in episode 4. In episode 1, 2, 3, they weren't there. And we first met you in episode 4, actually, or at the end of episode 3, Angie. So actually, you don't count, Angie. That's an interesting point. Oh, I guess she was mentioned in episode 1. Angie was mentioned in episode 1. Was she mentioned at all in episode 2, though? For example? Right? So it's like, there's a chance Angie wasn't, you know what I'm saying? I guess she was technically present in episode 1, Angie, but episode 2, she wasn't present. I don't know. But it's character's been there all the episodes. They can take over bodies
その問いには答えません。
in our
そ
memories.
れでは答えの幅が大幅に狭くなってしまって競争
How would that reduce the answers? So we've met them. How would that reduce the answer? Everyone on the island. Everyone on the island is someone that they've met. How would that reduce the possible answers? Angie's met every single person on the island, even though she wasn't there in October 1986. She's met every single person on the island in the previous years when they would come by, 1985, 1984, etc. Battler may not have come by, but Angie would have come by with her parents, Rudolph and Kiria, right? So that wouldn't make a difference. That wouldn't change anything, would it? So now I'm trying to think. Yeah, if it's any of the servants on the island, surely Angie would have met them all. And all her family members surely should have met them all at some point during her childhood. Are there any characters that they didn't meet that could be an answer to this question? Any characters that they... Wait, what did she say in red? You three definitely know my name. In other words, my existence name is one that exists within your memories. Their existence and name is one that exists within their memories. That is not the same as saying that they've met them. Because technically, I know people's existence that I haven't met. And name. Existence, and I know the existence of people that I haven't met. I mean, any historical figure, right? Julius Caesar. I know the name, and I know his existence. I've obviously never met him because he existed over 2,000 years ago, right? Alexander the Great, Isaac Newton, any historical figure that existed, I know their name. But that she refused to answer this
つ
question,
まり
so we've met them. That doesn't necessarily mean they've met them. What are characters that exist that they haven't met? but that they know them by name and they know they exist. Because she refused to answer this question.
それでは答えの幅が大幅に狭く
That
な
will
ってしま
greatly
って
reduce the number of possible answers. How? Because if she says yes, that would mean that anyone they've met that was in episode 1 through 8 would count. So anyone on the island would count. It could be Kenzo, Genji, or all of the other servants, any family members, Cross, Natsu, etc. But if it's someone that they haven't met, then could it be like the Sumadera family? Like, what's her name? Kasumi? But she wasn't there in episode 1. Kasumi was first mentioned, whatever episode, I don't remember. Kasumi Sumadera. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm thinking, like Angi's, Kiria's side of the family, right? Or also Battler, to be fair. Battler's biological mother is Kiria as well. So, I'm thinking of her side of the family. But they weren't present since episode 1. That's the thing. She's been. This character that Peace is taken over has been present since episode 1 through 8, but only now she used this ability. So, it can't be any of Angie's side of the family. Because they were introduced. Well, I mean, Angie herself was introduced a little bit later, even though she was mentioned in episode 1. So, we can count Angie in this. Could the answer be Angie herself? Because, yes, she was. I guess, if you want to say that she was present in all episodes, even though episode 2 she wasn't. Has Angie been mentioned at all? How did that Red Truth go again? How did Beato say that Red Truth? Episode 1 through 8.
ラムダ
Sorry if I'm going back and forth, but this is actually me. This is my theory crafting, okay? Like, a person that exists from episode 1 to 8. That's not how she said the red, is it? Here's the Red Truth. Okay, we're on 1 minute 30, 1 hour 30 now.
誰かを
I don't care if you affirm or deny fantasy. Let's go to the other Red Truth. I wanna see the Red Truth about episode 1 through 8. That was because that's an important Red Truth. I wanna know the specifics. Were they present in episode 1 through? Oh, here maybe.
ありません
I'm a person who existed from episode 1 through 8. Okay, so Angie, within that definition, Angie definitely counts. Because it's only existed. Yeah, Angie's existed from episode 1 through 8. But the Sumadera family haven't existed from episode 1 through 8. Right? They were only introduced way later on when we introduced to Angie in episode 4. So it's someone that would have been mentioned in episode 1 or introduced in episode 1. Or something like that. Could be one of the main family members.
人間登場したことは
そのなのか
からエピソード
I was present during episodes 1 through 8 and had that power during that time. This is the first time that my master has allowed me to show it to you. That's also said in red. That's a huge red truth. What?
はこの人物
But that's a big thing. Wait, let's go back here. 1 minute, 1 hour 13. I mean, not 1 minute 13.
エピソード1からエピソード
Sorry, my
8
throat
まで
is
の
big.
間に存在している一人のできているもの
例えばだとんでもない化け
Lambda does friends with terrifying monsters, but since we don't know them by name, we don't recognize them, right?
あなたが
You three definitely know my name, you know those my existence and memories is one that exists within your memories. My existence and name is one that exists within your memories. Angie
私
asks,
たち
so we've met them, and she says, I will not answer that question. Because if the answer is no, then it can't be anyone on the island. Can it? Because surely they've met anyone on the island. It can't be the Sumadera family. It can't be like the detective dudes that we met in episode 4. Because again, we all met in episode 4. They've got to be someone that we definitely met in episode 1. But it can't be someone on the island. If they're not someone they met. Because she says here that it would greatly reduce the number of possible answers. That doesn't make sense. If the answer is yes, it would. How would that reduce the answers? It's the opposite. Flip the chessboard, y'all. If the answer is no, that would mean there should be. Angie must have met Yasser at some point. Kinzo? Could it be Kinzo? Because he died before 1986, right? Wait, how did Angie ask the question again? So we've met them. It exists within the memory, so we've met them, and she says, oh, nah, Angie must have met Kinzo before his death, surely. Surely Kinzo and Angie met, even though he died. But Kinzo died in like 1984, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Angie would have been 4 years old, but she would have met him. Kinzo's my current theory. I think it could be Kinzo then. But so does Kinzo have that ability then? Kinzo has the ability to swallow people up and take over their identity? I mean, he kind of has had that throughout the episodes, right? Where he will appear in the fantasy realm like as a fake Kinzo and people recognize his existence even though he's not actually there. Nah, but she says in red, this is the first time my master has allowed me to use it. This is the first time Kinzo's been allowed to use this ability. Who other than Kinzo could it be? That's been there from episode 1 through 8. Could it be like Beato's mother? Or mothers like Tiku? You know what I'm saying? No, but she was introduced in episode 3, wasn't she? Beatrice Casti. What's her name again? Castigli. Whatever. I forgot what her Italian name was. The full name. But she was introduced in episode 7. Her daughter was introduced in episode 3, though. The Kuadorian Beato. That was an episode 3 occurrence. Was she part of that definition? I've been here since episode 1? No. She would not have been there since episode 1. The original Beat teacher would have been there in episode 1. Because we saw her now, but we don't know her by name since episode 1. Do we? Because the Beato from Italy, that's the Beato in the portrait, right? But we wouldn't know her since episode 1. By name, at least. Not her full name. But is that what the Red Truth says? You three definitely know my name. In other words, my existence name is one that exists within your memories. Also, nah, maybe Beato, but Beato and Angie would not know the Italian Beato. Because they died. They would not have known her full Italian name, surely. Would they? Would Kinzo have ever told them her full name? That's another possibility. And also, she has the ability to swallow people up and take over their identity. And only now she's been allowed to use it. Those are my two current theories. Kinzo or the Italian Beato. Because the Italian Beato, if you count the portrait, has existed from episode 1 through 8, right? And Kinzo's existed from episode 1 through 8. I guess if they want to say that Angie never met Kinzo, nah, that doesn't make sense. Angie would have met Kinzo in the 1985 or something, or 1984, sorry. Because okay, Eva was suspicious because she never got to meet Kinzo in 1985 or 1986. She was starting to get suspicious, like why can't we meet Kinzo again? But surely, like I think he died in 1984, right? He died like 2 years because Sayo solved the epitaph and met Kinzo before he died. It was just like soon before he died, right? By that point, Angie would have met Kinzo at some point, surely. I guess it was never clearly stated that Angie ever met Kinzo, but she must have. Angie must have memories of like, yeah, my grandfather existed. I met them.
知っている
I'll continue reading for now. Sorry for pausing a lot. I'm just trying to theorize. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to think, right? Without love, it cannot be seen. We're trying to think with love here. We're trying to figure out the
つ
mystery.
まり
には答えません。それでは答えの幅が大幅に狭くなってしまって、今日 そがれてしまえまピース。
道理であるな。わらわたちは3人いる。
Mm-hmm.
立ち位置も境遇も違う。誰が合っていて誰が合っていないか、そんなものが明かされたら答えはかなり限定されてしまうだろうからな。
But someone that all three of you know. I don't. I don't know because in the main episodes, Beato, you yourself answer yes when Battler asks if Goldberg is one of the 18 on the island. You say yes in red. Why would her saying yes make the scope of possible answers be quite restricted? That's contradicting. We've met and haven't met different people. Sure, the scope would not be restricting at all if it's one of the 18 people on the island from episode 1 through 8. I don't get that, Beato. Or 17, technically. 16 if you don't count Kinzo, right? How was it again? Battler, George, Jessica, Maria, Rudolph, Kirie, Hideyoshi, Eva, Cross, Natsui, Rosa, Kanon, Shannon, Genji, Kumasawa, Goda, am I missing someone? Kinzo. With Kinzo, that would be 16, right? If you count Kanon and Shannon, two separate people, it would be 17. Where does the 18th person come from then? Did I miss counting someone? Battler, George, Jessica, Maria. Those are the cousins. Battler's parents, Rudolph and Kirie. Natsu and Cross, Jessica's parents. George's parents, Hideyoshi, Eva. Maria has got Rosa. Then we have Kenzo, the grandfather. No other family members. 12 family members. Outside of that, we have the servants, starting with Genji, and then Goda, and then Kumasawa, Kanon, Shannon. That's 17. Who the heck is the 18th person? Oh, Nanjo, right. Nanjo, because he's kind of not a servant, but not a family member either. That's why I forgot him. If you take away Kinzu, it becomes 17. If you count that Shan and Kanon are one entity, not entity, but one human body, then you have 16. Yeah. So that will limit the scope of possible answers to those 18 that we've had, or 16 that we had all the episodes. That doesn't make sense to me. We've met and haven't met different people. But so we know it's someone all three of you met, and if she answers yes, that it's someone all three of you met, and it's someone, yeah, it wouldn't be that limited, no.
しかしこの猫箱の中に登場した人間と魔女と家具と武具と
Oh, she says she doesn't care whether it's fantasy or not. Oh, I didn't think about that. I did not think about that. The answer could be Ronove. It could be Gap. No, Gap has not been since episode 1. Ronove has not been there since episode 1. Wait. The seven stakes haven't been there since episode 1. Technically. Not all the magic stuff started happening in episode 2. I was gonna say, oh, I completely forgot a whole array of characters in the fantasy world, but they weren't there in episode 1. Episode 1 was completely magic free, or fantasy free, at least for us, the reader. So no, I won't accept that. What's the definition of the red truth again? Sorry that I'm going back and forth a lot, but I need that. She said it doesn't matter if they're. She said it doesn't matter if they're if it's fantasy or not. I remember her saying that in red, but she never said anything about
価値の
あるだ。一緒に、ま、
この国
I don't remember her saying anything about it being where's the red truth? I can't find it, yo. What the heck, man?
乗っ取ら
when does she say the red truth?
に触られたならば謝ろうぞ。ただ、わらわたちは戦学で品がない。これ以上行儀よくする方法を知らぬ。
敬意が大事なのでピー。
When does she say the red truth? Am I blind?
これ以上行儀をよくするのにも疲れたからよ。そろそろこっちも楽にさせてもらっていいか？
ゲームの駒を相手に何をどうしようと気にはしねえさ。これはそういうゲームなんだからな。
せっかくお越しのお客が
I'm wasting so much time here. I'm sorry, y'all. I still cannot find where the red
私た
truth
ちも
was
少しは
said.
接待してあげようと思ってたけれど、もう限界。
してない。
いう国を見ると、命の価値は人の持つものの中で上から2番目でしかないんです。仕方ない。肩を冷やしてしまいますわ。
It would have been after she killed or she took over Eva.
優しいもの。
黒ネタ今日より
わら
I'm confused. I don't know why I can't find when she said the red truth.
少し
大手や
でもし
あれが
Oh, this they discussed it, skipping. I don't get it. Oh, here?
存
Maybe?
在している。
Okay, okay. It was right at the end of the last part. Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay. I'm personally existed from episode 1 through episode 8. None of the fantasy people count as people of existence from episode 1 through 8. Ronove, Gap. Gap was introduced way later, actually, episode 4. Ronove was introduced episode 2 or 3. Virgilia, the Seven Stakes, the Chiester sisters. None of them were there in episode 1. So let's go back to 114, who has existed from episode 1 through 8. So going back to...
存在ごとけ
You three definitely know my name, you know the words of my existence.
誰がリゲ
となんとかと。一体どれだけの名前が登場したってんだ。
But from episode 1 though, Battler,
私たちに正解は可能であるということを保証しただけで難易度を下げてくれたことにはまるでならないわね。
しかしわらわたちは3人いる。
you do have that advantage.
魔女と人間、猫箱の中と外、異なる立場を持つ。
それでも3人まとめてひねりつぶせる。我が主はそれだけの自信をお持ちになり、私に同時に3人と戦いと仰せになられたのでピース。そうだ、一つゲームの条件を出し損ねていました。
そら来たぞ。どうせろくな話じゃねえ。
条件の一つくらい出させてやれ。向こうは1人、こっちは3人がかり。少しはハンデがないとこちらも面白みがないというもの。
大したことではありません。皆々様が考察の果てに答えに行き着いた時、3人全員がその答えに同意した上で発表されてほしいのでピース。どのような答えであろうとも
That's fair.
3人のうちの1人でもその答
I
え
mean,
に
that's
同
fair,
意で
because
きないな。
they'll have basically 3 chances if they could give 3 separate answers. That's fair. That would be unfair to Peace if they could do that.
ならばそれは答えとして提出されないということでピース。
That's a good condition.
だが回答を宣言するのに回数
Nah, you surely should only get 1 answer.
わ 彼らの知る名前を片っ端から全て
Exactly, exactly.
いつか
You
は
should
正
only
解
get
に来てしまう
one
からね
one answer.
回数制限を設けなければゲームとして成立しないであろうぞ。
バカね。自分の首を絞めるルールを提案
It would
し
be
て
like trying to unlock a numbers code by just guessing the numbers over and over again through all the possible iterations of codes. Like, let's say you have a 3-number lock, you have 10 times 10 times 10, so 1,000 attempts until you finally one of those thousands will be correct, but then you wouldn't have deciphered the code or whatever. You'd have just guessed yourself to the right answer. So
どうするのよ。
それでも勝つ。3人で考察し納得して至った答えで一発で打ち取る。
今
cuts.
回の戦い方はどうやら推理のショットガンってよりは狙撃ライフルって感じのようだな。
無論青で牽制は無数に仕掛ける。
Yeah, we still have to narrow it down.
だが輪郭を暴いた後は一発で決める。
我が主からは特に回数制限を定めるようには命じられ
You
ま
should
せ
do
ん。
it on yourself.
しかしそうすることで皆々様がより興味を持ち白熱した考察バトルをお見せくださるなら我が主も喜んでお受けになるでしょう。
Yorukonde!
やれやれだわ。
Peace!
でもまあおかげで適当に怪しい名前をあげればいいなんていうくだらない戦いではなくなるようね。
じゃあ始めるぜ。
それでは開始でピース。
Peace! I do like this character. Endless Nine. Batter crossed his arms and looked up at the night sky. Like I did in the game with Beto, I guess I'll step into the position of the Nine Fantasy. Alright. With magic, anything goes, and it makes my brain ache. First, ancient Kiryu were eaten, and their entire existence was wiped out. Thus, they were never in this world from its beginning. Both the peace version of me and my old geezer believed that I had no younger sister. To think about it in simple terms, this is like Beto's cherished golden magic. Namely, a false narrative that could be created in exchange for money and other rewards. Exactly, that could be the case. If you had vast sums of money, you could get people to say Angie and Kitty were known in the family. But also, it would make sense why Angie wouldn't be convinced. Like, huh? What's going on? You're not my mom, right? Some of money wouldn't like convince Angie of that. That's why she had to swap Angie too. Okay. However, both my and my geezer believe in the idea of ladies first and were natural contrarians. Whether it's by bribery or threats, I wonder if he'd submitted a request to behave as if Angie and Kitty didn't exist. No. Is it possible they were taken hostage or something? So Angie and Kitty could have been taken hostage and we were ordered to act as if they didn't exist?
ピース、念のために聞くが、このおかしな事件に動機はあるのか。
ほう、さすがはバトラよ。わらはもう今同じことを聞こうと
I'm
して
faster than you, Beto.
私もよ。
Angie too. But I'm the fastest
無意
then.
味に起こした事件ならかけらとしては幻滅するほどにくだらない上に推理する隙も価値もなくなってしまう。人の心をないがしろにするんじゃねえ。というわけで
フーダニット、ハウダニット、そしてホワイダニット。魔女の謎に迫る3つの刃の一つだぜ。そして同時に魔女の謎の格式を決めるものでもある。
特にホワイダニットは重要だ。それこそがわらわはミステリーにて最も大切な答えであると思っている。
我が主にお作りになられたかけらの格式が疑われるようなことは あってはなりません。ですので赤で宣言しましょう。この事件にははっきりとした動機と心があります。
So if it was Kinzo, what motive and heart would he have? To take away Kitty and Angie, make them disappear from the family. Nothing comes to mind. I see no reason why Kinzo would do this. And the Italian Beato, the one from the portrait, I also see no reason why she would do that either. But she says there is motive and heart behind this incident, so maybe there is one that I can't think of right off the bat.
心って
あなた方にもきっと
I'm going based on the fact that she wouldn't answer the question of it is one of the 18 people on the island as a hint. Like I'm going based on the fact that it's someone that they haven't met, but they still know their name and their existence, and they have this ability. Yeah, I'm going based off that because that has to be a hint in my mind. That doesn't make sense why she wouldn't just say yes. It's only the 18 people on the island. We've had that as a red truth throughout all the episodes. Why now is she saying no? That would narrow down the restrictions too much. To me, that doesn't make sense.
理解してもらえる。人間ならば誰もが理解に及ぶ動機である。
Okay,
という
any
わけで
human would. Okay.
つまり犯人以外の誰にも納得できないような変質的で独善的な動機ではないということだね。
ハンガーぶつけて死ねって言われて富士山が見えなくなったからとかみたいな。犯人にとっては重要でも第三者からはそんな理由で人の命をって驚かれるようなものではないってことだよな。
お兄ちゃんやめて謝ってできれば人
What?
を床にこすりつけて。
ああ、すみません。ゴリゴリゴリゴリゴリ。
Huh? I think we just got a nice big hint. But looking at the motive, that can be very useful in approaching the truth. Let's make one more push to confirm this.
少なくない人間が犠牲になった。その全員に対し犯人は動機を持っているのか。
無論でピース。
キリエさんとエンジに関しては明白にお前が意識して殺したのはわかる。だがじい様やベアとシャノンちゃんやカノン君、ゲンジさんはどうだ。
It's true, they kind of attacked her and she had to defend herself.
だけなのか。それともこっちにも明白な理由があるのか。
あります。
Eh? That was an honestly unexpected answer. Her target was just Kitty and Angie. Everybody else was just her putting out the sparks. If that's the case, I can follow. Wait, what? Repeat that.
それともこっちにも
For Kitty and Angie, it was clear you made a conscious decision to kill them, but what about. Were you just putting out sparks from the fire raining down on you? Or is there an obvious motive?
明白
And she says there was.
あります。
There was an obvious motive? So she says there was an obvious motive to killing, you know, the servants and the grandfather and Kenzo.
こっち
That was an honestly unexpected answer. Her target was just Kitty and Angie. Everybody else was just... Okay, maybe it's a mistranslation, because now Batter says that everybody else was just her putting out the sparks. Which means the killing of Kenzo and the servants was not motivated by anything. She just defended herself because, yeah, again, putting out the sparks. If that's the case, I can follow the lines of the family tree. For example, the first suspect is the person who bears the biggest grudge against Kitty and Angie, Kitty's younger sister. Okay, so the family does count. See, I did think of her, but I was like, but she wasn't there in episode 1. I did think of her. See? My brain did go there, but I was like, my brain went, okay, who is someone not on the island? Nah, but Angie would have met her in her childhood, though. Angie would have met Kasumi at some point. She would have met her aunt. That doesn't make sense. For example, the first suspect is the person who bears the biggest grudge against Kitty and Angie, Kitty's younger sister. Yeah, Kasumi. Angie would have met her at childhood age. Because that's the thing. If Peace answers yes to the question of have we met them before, it wouldn't restrict the names that much. It would be the people on the island, plus even like Kasumi. Angie knows Kasumi, Battler knows Kasumi, and Beato definitely would know Kasumi. I mean, maybe she wouldn't know her that well, but she would know, oh yeah, that's Kitty's sister or something. Like, she would have heard the name at some point. Like, it makes sense to me that she would know the name. But she wasn't there in episode 1. Please tell me that. If you tell me no, I can't suspect her because she wasn't present in episode 1, that would make my theories a lot more valid. Sesame Sumadera. We already seen the depths of her grudge and madness in an earlier fragment. I'm not convinced it's her, but she has an understandable motive. However, if Casuma's the culprit, she would only have a grudge against Kiria, and she shouldn't meaningfully resent the other members of the family. Going by the illusion of the witch, the murders of the other members were just her sweeping away sparks, but that turned out to be wrong. Wait, that turned out to be wrong? What do you mean? So were they motivated or not? Were the motivations only to kill Kiria and Angie? Or only to kill Kiria? Or were the motivations also to kill the other members that came to attack her, like like Kinzo and the servants? But that turned out to be wrong? If Kasumi is the culprit, grandfather would just barely be her target. It's true, why would she have any grudge against Kinzo? I can't think of any right off the bat. But wait, let me go back. Because this picking up the sparks is confusing. Everyone else was just putting up the sparks. I don't know. I don't get it. I still don't understand the English. I don't know if the translation is bad or the English is bad, but that's making reading this so much more confusing because I don't know if there is a motivation behind killing the other members or not. That's a big deal. It doesn't seem like she would expressly target Beato, Shannon, Kanon, or Genji. That's if it was Kasumi.
やられたぜ。たどる線を見つけたと思ったら。
Okay, so we can use Kasumi's argumentation even though she wasn't expressly... Was she ever mentioned in episode 1? Probably not. I don't think so. I don't remember that she was ever mentioned or talked about in episode 1. But we can use her. Which means we can use her, we can use Okonogi, we can use Sniper guy, what's his name? Amakusa. We can use him. We can even use the freaking boat rider. The guy who serves the boat, but we don't know him by name, so I guess we can. Oh, we can use so many people. Even Ao counts in this case. Featherine, or Ikiko counts, right? Hachijo Ikiko counts, because you can use anyone that was quote unquote present in episode 1 through 8, even though they were never expressly mentioned or shown in episode 1, for example. You can still use them. But can we use anyone from the fantasy? From the fantasy realm? Okay. That makes things much harder. Because now my line of thinking was just either Kinzo or Beato from Italy, from the original Beato from Italy. And then it's like, okay, trying to figure out the lines from there. But if you can include people like Kasumi, that makes things more complicated, right?
やってくれるぜ。
But wait, do they? I'm still confused by that. Do they or don't they have a motive for killing Genji and the rest? Did P specify that? She didn't. Obviously, here Battery's saying that Kasumi doesn't have a motive to kill them, but someone else could have the motive to kill Genji, Beato, Kinzo, Shannon, and Kanon. So that's what I'm wondering.
やられ
That's what I'm wondering is, did they have a motive for killing them or not?
やってくれるぜ。
はっき きりされたいでしょうから、赤ではっきりと宣言いたしましょうでピース。私にはキリエ、エンジェ、
Okay, important to
ベア
know.
トリーチェ、シャノン、カノン、ゲンジに消えてもらわねばならない理由があります。
どうしてだ。
Birth the new
それに答え
witch.
てくれるわけがない。
Of course she won't answer that one. She has reasons.
答えましょう。
Oh?
赤き真実で。
Oh my god! The soundtrack is so good. But the nature of the witch's game, you don't give out unnecessary hints that could draw your opponent closer to yourself, much less state your motive in red. Okay, but she wouldn't answer if they're a person that they've met before? But she'd answer this? I don't get that. But Peace was doing that. She says this not in the comical way she has been showing us, but with eyes that have the eeriness of adults.
私という駒がこのゲーム盤上に訪れるためには、彼らはすべていてはならない駒だからです。
Okay, what? In order for me to enter this game world, there are pieces that should not exist. Should not or cannot? Because if it's cannot, no, should not. It has to be should not.
しかし、犠牲者の中の幾人かは本来は私と共にいることを許されておりました。しかし、彼らの都合でこのゲーム盤にとどまることができないのです。だって取り除かせていただきました。
I'm getting more and more confused by each sentence. The more we go, the more red truth we reveal, the more I'm getting confused. They cannot steal this game world, therefore I remove them. What?
ただ誤解なきように、彼らを取り除いたのは彼らの心をないがしろにしなかったからこそ。しかし、私が真に殺したかった者たちには、私はわずかほどの情けも容赦もなく、その心など無視し
Say that again?
からこそ。
I was really going to allow them to live. They were pieces that should not exist.
このゲ彼らの
Okay.
私はわずかほどの情けも容赦もなく、その心など無視して、このゲーム盤より抹殺した。
That calm intensity made everybody gulp. Right now, she was not speaking as the witch of the game board, she was speaking from the heart of the culprit. This was a confession. Our confession. No, that's what we have to figure out, isn't it? She's not gonna give us that many hints. Then we figure out the answer. I really thought that Kiryu was the main target, and killing everybody else was incidental or unavoidable. But with this, I don't get it at all. That's what I'm saying. For example, Grandfather could be her main target. In order to get a chance to kill him, she could have killed Kiryu and then impersonated her to get into the family conference, looking for an opportunity to assassinate him. Or, if you accept the illusion of the witch as truth, Beata was the main target, and the process of killing her led to the other victims unintentionally getting caught in the crossfire. In particular, if you look at how people were killed, the way they were killed in the illusion story is similar to the way the victims appear in previous stories. For example, it would be similar to Beato's epitaph murders. No. In the first place, as far as the choice of victims goes, having a phony target in addition to a real target is the whodunit. Having a phony target in addition to a real target is so the whodunit does not reach the culprit. I see. But in this case, she said they were all pieces that shouldn't exist, so it's in conflict with what she said earlier. I'm getting more confused.
これ見よがすな雲の糸を垂らされ、まんまと思考を絡め取られたようだな。
とても重要な何かを聞き出せたとは思うけど、そこに思考をとらわれては意味はないわ。他の角度からのアプローチも必要よ。
ああ、そうだな。
Babies!
あんたのその小バカにした笑い方、私はずっとある人物を思い浮かべていたのよ。
それは誰だ？
Who? What?
私は動機の線ではなく、あくまでもこのピースという魔女の雰囲気やイメージから連想を探していた。私は誰
Like Erica? Reminds you of Erica or
そ
something?
の知的優位におごる態度と笑い声、
Yeah, Erica.
我が同志にそっくりなのよ。
Yeah, her comrade, yeah.
あの御人か。
Is she gonna appear? Are you serious? Oh my god. Okay. Nice cameo, Erica. How you doing?
これは心外ですね、同志エンジェ。
You're gonna help us out.
真実の魔女たるもの、知的さと優雅さを兼ね備えていて当然です。それで、そこの品のない駒の魔女とやらがこの私にどうそっくりなのでしょう。そっくりも何もそのものだと思うけれど。それでは伺いましょうか、同志エンジェ。あなたの紡ぎ出した真実を。
まさかあいつが現れるとはな。
そなたの妹は反言の魔女であるぞ。エンジェが望めば生死を問わずそれはいる。そな
まさか。
た問わずそれはいる。
ただしそれは反言の魔女自身にしか認知できない。
他者
The
には
Witch of
認識できない
Resurrection.
がそれを理由に否定することもできない。それが反言の魔女の反言。
要するにエンジェが脳内に自在に召喚できる仮想人格分割並列思考というわけでですね。奇妙な魔法でピー。フルドエリカは六軒島に漂着し得た唯一の招かれていない客人。
True.
ハロウィンパーティーに突然現れたイレギュラーな客人は彼女を置いて他にいない。後ろ宮家犯人説を否定した方々に愛されてやまない真実の魔女にしてイレギュラーな客人は後ろ宮家犯人説を否定した方々に愛されて
Loved by those who deny the Yushime family culprit theory.
やまない真実の魔女にして招かれざる名探偵とはこの私のこと。フルドエリカが本来はどのような人物なのかは定まっていない。分かっているのはプレジャーボートから転落するというドジなこと言うだけ。しかしこの私が魔女のゲーム版に登場した時には一つの人格を持っておりました。
An intellectual rapist. It was a disgusting nickname. That was an intellectual supremacist who looked down on others and who got the greatest joy from intellectually violating people. That's still a crazy thing to call yourself. It really is.
一晩のゲストとして迎えられたフルドエリカ。探偵を気取る彼女に一泡吹かせてやろうと後ろ宮家の人間たちが結託して狂言殺人事件を起こした可能性。 してもこの私の完全なる検視を免れて死んだふりをして容疑者リストから逃れようとすることなどできません。
つまりはこういう筋書きはどう？実はこのハロウィンパーティーの夜どう？実はこのハロウィンパーティーの夜エリカは六軒島に漂着し客人として
Problem is, Erica has no motivation to kill any of the people she killed, right?
迎え入れられていた。
Especially Angie. Why would she kill a child? What motivation would she have to kill a child? During the party, the family was very excited from all the puzzles and quizzes.
そこへ現れた自称名探偵が空気も読まずズバズバと答えまくって調子に乗りまくって大人たちを辟易とさせてしまう。
The adults, see? But what about Angie, the child?
するとこの私に敗北した屈辱を晴らしたい大人げない大人たちがくだらない猿芝居を目論むわけです。
For example, Mom and I suddenly disappearing. The next morning, Dad and Onichan would ask Erica about it, and Kitty would jump out as a prank in order to start on tease her.
過去のかけらを重ね見る限り後
Right, so you're saying that Battler and Rudolph go along with a prank, basically.
過去のかけらを重ね見る限り後ろ宮家の皆さんは非常にお芝居がお上手と言いますか
Sure.
と言いますか。
そんなおかしなお芝居で驚かせようとしてみたりあるいはさらにその上使用人たちに死んだふりまでさせて連続殺人事件のお芝居をしてみたりとかね。
This crazy story had undeniably appeared in one of the past game records. Okay, whether it was a reasonable motive or not, even if it was presently one-sided, there was nothing to block Angie's logic.
答えは3人全員の合意の上でとのことだけれど私とエリカで至った真実を一方的にぶつけさせてもらうわ。
その綺麗な顔がどう歪むか想像
Hey,
する
yo!
だけで絶頂しそうになっちゃいますね。わーなるほど、確かに私たちどこかキャラが似てますてぴー。似たような駒が2つも並んでは実に邪魔でぴー。おや
You are similar in some ways.
だけなのに脳の容積にこれほど違いがあるというのは
Hey!
お邪魔だったでしょう。
Okay. Peepees! They're both crazy.
青で宣言するわ。犯人はフルドエリカ。一連の事件はすべてエリカを騙すためあるいはからかうための狂言よ。私やお母さんをみんなが突然認知できなくなったのはそういう芝居を示し合わせたから。
That will explain what you just said with Red Truth. For several of the victims, I was originally going to allow them to live. However, because of their circumstances, they cannot stay on this game board. Therefore, I removed them. What this refers to clearly is Erica's perfect autopsy. For this woman who calls herself an intellectual rapist, somebody who's an intellectually inferior challenging her with a mystery is akin to blasphemy. She would fly into a rage and by way of that perfect autopsy would change the fate of this silly play.
これでチェック。
メイト
So Erica herself would go about killing them. because she would get angry.
全てはフルドエリカの存在と彼女の持つ高潔にして下劣なる知的蹂躙者のプライドが傷つけられたからで動機を説明できる。
あなたの赤き真実、私が真に殺したかった者たちには、私はわずかほどの情けも容赦もなく、その心など無視してこのゲーム版よりまっす
She said checkmate.
殺した。
高潔全て
Go again to the other red truth?
そういう芝居を示す。
これでチェック。
メイト、全てはフルドエリカの存在と彼女の持つ高潔にして下劣なる知的蹂躙者のプライドが傷つけられたからで動機を説明できる。
Say that again? She fled the region by way of that perfect autopsy.
者たちには、私はわずかほどの情けも容赦もなく、その心など無視してこのゲーム版より抹殺したわ。この名探偵を狂言で試そうとした大罪に対する怒りを示しているのです。名探偵を試すこと、それはザ・ブックに記されし、神は
But for the other one you said... Sorry about this, but for the other one she said is an intellectual inferior challenging her is akin to blasphemy. With a mystery is akin to blasphemy. Okay. Okay.
それはこと。
Sure, let's go with that. Okay.
冒涜に対する当然の神罰なの。
According to the book, that's the same as blasphemy towards God. This is a well-deserved divine punishment for blasphemy against me.
い
Okay.
かがです？
フルドエリカ並びに
Okay, Angie.
後宮エンジェル
Nice CG.
この程度
Hey, this is nice.
可能です。
What do you think of that? Angie and Erica stood back to back while pointing their index fingers at peace as if to condemn her. Even though two people were pointing at peace, she didn't lose her calm smile. Nice, look at this. Well, peace, did that work? I doubt it, but let's see. The other version of Angie, the Witch of Truth, was showing off a wink with their signature pose, scattered as a faintly glowing swarm of butterflies. Did you like that? Did you like that?
心より感謝いた
Great
しま
song.
すデピー。ではありますが、すでに申し上げております通り、それが3人全員で同意した推理であるか確認させていただきマピス。何しろチャンスは一度のみ。
It's true?
それもそちらの偉大なる大ベアトリーチェ
Is this true? We restricted ourselves. We made this hard for ourselves.
バカなルールを課したものね。まあ別に構わないわ。二人に納得してもらうだけの話。
I'm not convinced, I'm not gonna lie to you.
エンジェ、本当にエリカ犯人説で良いのか？他にある？
I'm not
犯人が
convinced.
人間に限定されるというのならば、そなたの答え、もっともと思う。しかし、今回は魔女幻想の住人が犯人であることを禁じ手としてはおらぬのだぞ。ラムダのお友達の化け物、 禁じ手としてはおら
ザリーヌの従えてたラムダのお友達の化け物とか、フェザリーヌの従えてた黒猫たちとか、あるいはベルンカステルやらラムダデルタやら、
What motives would they have?
何
Yeah.
でもありになるじゃない。
そうとも何でもありとなる。だからこそこの人物ならば可能だという言い方ではおそらく真実は暴けまい。
どういうこと？
可能な人物が複数いる状況では可能であることが犯人である証拠にはならないってことだ。それにピース
Yeah,
は
that's
最
why I'm
初
not
に
convinced.
赤き真実ではっきり明言している。私はエピソード1からエピソード8までの
Yeah,
間に
Erica
存在してい
definitely
る
did not
一人の
appear
人物ですとな。
in episode 1.
つまりピーストやらの正体を
Through
暴
four.
く手段としてはフーダニットとハウダニットは特定の一人の犯人に行き着く道しるべとはなり得ないということだ。
さっきあんたとお兄ちゃんはホワイダニットから探る方法はピースの罠にはまって混乱するだけかもしれないと言ったわ。それで私はフーとハウから探り、最も確率の高い人物名を挙げた。
But there are multiple people who could be in the who and why.
確率が高いじゃ推理にならない。こいつしかありえない。
I think we need more info.
初めて推理なんだ。
I truly feel like we need more info. Angie's also intelligent, but she has the same weakness her brother does, which is that she is easily clouded by emotion. So when the reasoning she built up was denied by two people, it took some time to regain her composure. Yeah, lock in, y'all. Lock in, Angie.
ホワイもフーもハウもお手上げならどう推理しろというのよ。
となると今度こそわらわの出番であろうよ。わらわは探偵ではない。魔女だ。魔女は推理などせぬのでな。出番で
どう推理しろというのよ。
あろうよ。わらわは探
どう推理？
魔女だ。魔女は推理などせぬのでな。
俺とエンジェは人間が犯人に違いないという前提で挑んでた。ならベアとはその前提をひっくり返した
Okay,
ところか
she
ら
can
攻
she
め
can try and use a fantasy culprit.
キリエがいつも言っていたである。
Flip the chessboard.
チェス盤をひっくり返すという
Heh
やつ。ただしこの場合は犯人の立場を想像して推理をするではない。人間が犯人であるという前提をひっくり返す。
どうやって？
かつてのベアトリーチェ教のゲームとは少し毛色が違うでしょう。
Hmm.
魔女幻想の住人は何でもありなのよ。人間を丸飲みして存在した事実ごと消し去れるなんて、それこそ
It really is. This is why we need more info. It's a free for all for
それ
real.
では真実は暴けないと言ったのはベアト自身だったじゃない。
そうとも。フーもハウも何でもありの幻想の住人たちには通用しない。しかしホワイは違うぞ。
ああ、フェザリーヌやらベルンカステルにも犯行は可能かもしれない。しかしこんないびつな事件を起こす動機がない。
Say that
何
again.
でもありの幻想の住人たちには
ああ、フェザリーヌやらこんないびつな事件を起こす動機がない。
魔女ってのは戯れや気まぐれで人を殺せる連中でしょ。魔女に動機を求めるなんてバカバカしい。考えるだけ無駄じゃない。
それをこの猫箱の の全てを知った今でもベアとの前で言えるのか。
うー。
それは
Damn, that line from Battler was that was a hit. Can you say it in front of Beto? That's crazy. Yeah, be careful what you say, Angie. In Battler's eyes, this was no joke or laughing matter, and Angie realized she had misspoke. Yeah.
魔女のゲームはな、何でもありだ。考えるのがバカバカしくなりそうなくらいに異常で狂ってて常識外れでイカれてる。
Okay.
だから絶対にないがしろにするな。心を。
The witches are ridiculous. They have absurd powers they can use as they please. But they only have one, just like a baby or an animal. It's bugging me.
心が伝えられねえんだよ。シンプルな言葉で素直に喋れねえ天の弱なんだよ。それなのに人の心を求めて人に近づかずにはいられない。なのにそれを素直な言葉で示せない。バカで間抜けでどうしようもなくかわいそうな連中なんだよ。
This is why you can't treat the witch's game carelessly. Nah. This again.
大バカの寂しがり屋がそれでも精一杯拙くても必死に書き上げたかけらを考えるだけ無駄だとか絶対に言うんじゃね
かなわぬな。バトラにかかれば千年の魔女のメッセージボトルも小学生が初めて書いたラブレター扱いであるな。
I don't know if your words are spoken from the mouth of a human or from the mouth of the Lord of the Golden Land and husband of the Golden Witch.
我が主の命令とは我が主の命令とはいえ私はここへやってくるのが本心で億劫でなりませんでした。来たところで何も得るものなどない。むしろきっと自分で自分を嫌になるような思いをするだけだと思っていたからです。
However, this was worth
あ
doing.
なたの口からそのような言葉を聞けただけで私は今日ここに魔女の使いとして来た甲斐がありました。ベアとそしてピース、それから出会ったことのない無数の魔女たちに謝るわ。それにすでにあんたははっきりと赤で宣言している。この事件には
Yeah, there is a motive. She did say it in red.
動機と心があるとね。取り乱してふてくされてしまった自分が恥ずかしいわ。
気にするな。それでこそバトラの妹らしくて小気味よい。
でもホワイトニットで答えに迫る方法は一度挫折したんじゃなかったの？
そうだな。
一度挫折したんじゃなかったの？
そうだな。 少なくとも人間に限った容疑者に対してはな。
何でもありの魔女たちから本気でホワイトニットを人の心を読み取れるというの？
そうだ。魔女に本当の本気で人の心がなかったなら、奴らは人間の姿など形作らない。
Even though they have become witches, they still want to get close to others, so they keep the forms of humans. If they earnestly look down on humans and lose interest in them, they will stop having any form, let alone a human form. They quickly end up as scraps of seaweed. They sink and scatter in the sea of fragments, becoming a snowflake in the abyss of oblivion where the sun never shines.
人の心をないがしろにするな。ウィザードハンティングライト。
Hey, Willard! He's
ハンティ
undeniably
ングライト。
Willard! He's undeniably a witch killer. My omnipotent master still hasn't forgotten that human. He's sure me a battler. That's right. All the ghosts of witches want to be defeated like that, with a eulogy, so they gather. Like Rockenjima's Beatrice.
正直惜しくなってきましたで
惜しいとは？
こんな素敵な子をあなたごときひねくれ者が伴侶として独占することは元老院へのすべての魔女への大罪でピース。
やらんぞバカ。
It's my husband.
程度に潰される程度ならバトラ君はあなたにはふさわしくありません。
面白い。試すかババア。
二人に
Old hag.
楽しませてあげましたが、お前にはそんなゆとりは与えません。
I don't know what has offended or upset Peace, but I can certainly feel the invisible sparks quietly flying between Beato and Peace.
何が二人を駆り立ててるの？
だがこれでいい。これでこそアルバルと虚無の海を渡ってここまで来てくれた彼女に最もふさわしい艦隊だ。
Now, Beatrice, my golden brain strip it open. This woman, I don't know what that means. I don't know what they're trying to say here. I feel like I wish I would read the Umineko project version of this or something, because that's just from the spelling and the grammatical like mistakes. Even with like even understanding what the Red Truth is fully saying and stuff, and trying to deduce who the culprit is, I think would have been easier if I knew for sure what they meant with the translation. But okay. This woman, this switch of the piece, rip her open. That's right, what Battler said is correct. Witches are lonely and yet they're clumsy. Stupid idiots who can't communicate that. All they have to say, I'm lonely, please give me some attention. But they are so crass and inconsiderate that they fill 1,000 bottles with redundant stories that take 1,000 years to read and release them into the ocean. And the big idiots wait on the beach for someone to read it, even if it takes anyone 1,000 years and 1,000 times over for them to decipher it. Witches do be doing that. I'm going to tear you open, pause, and then I'll accept your message. Why did Kirie, Angie, Kenzo, Beato, Shannon, Kanon, and Genji have to disappear? She said, in order for me to enter this game board, there were pieces... You went too fast on that! There are pieces that should not exist. What does that mean? If you deny fantasy, I'd interpret it as an unshakable intent to kill them, maybe even against the rules entirely. But since this is a witch's game, maybe there's another way to interpret it? For example, we cannot appear in front of those who possess the anti-magic toxin. Oh, okay.
しかしお前たち以外にそんなルールを持つ駒はいなかったはずだ。
同時に存在できない人物、そんなのがいるの？私という駒がこのゲーム盤上を訪れるためには存在が許されない駒。
ベアト、推理なんて堅苦しいものにとらわれるな。お前はクソジジイのあのクソったれ碑文を解いた黄金の魔女だろ。
At any rate, Kinzo's epitaph didn't require witty reasoning. It was just childish, self-important wordplay. You needed flexible thinking. You didn't need precise mathematics for these deductions. You attack it with associations, fantasies, and whatever inspiration you can find.
あらあら、私の謎をなぞなぞ遊び呼ばわりですか？大事なことなので。そしてご存知ないでしょうから、この際赤き真実ではっきりとさせておきましょうね。私なぞなぞ遊びは大の得意なんですよ。
What? In red?
それもあなたよりも。
What?
ほほう、それをわざわざ赤で言うか。
あなたが謎解き遊びに夢中になったのなんて、せいぜいバトラ君と出会う前後からのほんの10年にも満たない短い時間じゃない
Less than 10 years. I mean, okay, yeah.
あんたごとき小娘とは違うんです。あんたが生まれる前からずーっとなぞなぞ遊びが大好きで大得意なんです。
Ever since before you were born? This is someone that was born before Beato? So it can't be... I don't know about the fantasy realm, but it can't be one of the cousins then. Because Beato's older than all of them. Has to be one of the adults. Can't be Kanon Shannon either. Can't be one of the cousins. Has to be one of the adults then. Still does not eliminate the Kinzo or Beato theory. Original Beato, okay. Likes to do riddles? Kinzo likes doing riddles? Is the culprit really Kinzo? But what motivation would he need to enter the story? And to kill Kiria, Angie, those servants, and himself? Because he killed Kinzo too. Would Kinzo kill himself to enter the story? I guess he would need to kill the fake Kinzo, so the real Kinzo. I don't get it. Wait.
残念ながら私は碑文の謎には挑戦できなかったけれども、もし
It's forgettable that I wasn't able to turn the riddle of the epitaph. Okay, that doesn't make sense because Kinzo himself made the riddle of the epitaph. Maybe it is Beato. Maybe the culprit is the Italian Beato then, because she died before the riddle of the epitaph was even made. In fact, the riddle of the epitaph was made after her. Like, for her, in honor of her, right? If I had challenged the riddle of the epitaph together with you, we surely would have easily solved the childish wordplay that grandfather frantically dreamt up. Grandfather? I'm taking that as if this is the Italian Beto, because we can rule out that Kinzo is the culprit. If it is the Italian Beto was it Castiglione? Leone. I think it was Beto Castiglione. Castiglione in Italian, but I thought it was earlier, but I didn't want to say it because I thought it was wrong. Either way, if it is the Italian Beto, then that would explain this, and maybe she just called grandfather so everyone knows it's Kinzo. But obviously, it wouldn't be her grandfather. That was the she was his mistress. So
あなたが私と共に碑文の謎に挑むことができていたなら、
she's saying all this in red.
必死になって考えた子供 じみたなぞなぞ遊びなんて
Before she was
きっと
even
簡単
born?
に解けていた。だって私、今回駒の魔女になって初めて非分の謎というものに挑戦してみたんだけれど、あっさりと解けちゃったのだから。
Nice.
何
Okay. It is extremely difficult to solve, and the probability of reaching the correct answer is akin to an astronomical miracle. Solving it revived the witch, and resulted in a great number of sorrowful mistakes, which drastically changed the fate of the Ishuma family on Rokkenjima. And she called such a cataclysmic riddle child's play, as if she found it easy to answer?
そうね。あ
Okay.
なたという黄金の魔女の復活が空白の6年の間に起き、人を愛する資格を持てない家具に身を落としてしまい、それが全ての惨劇の引き金になった。だから私は今猛烈なる反省と悲しみに包まれている。あの程度のなぞなぞ遊び、私と一緒に挑めたならもっと早くあなたに解かせてやれた。私の手にはあなたの人生が狂わずに済む鍵が握られていたはず。なのにそれを使うことができなかったのが私の一番の罪。
What?
バトラ君は猫箱に閉じ込められ、エンジェちゃんは一人孤独な未来に取り残された。これは全て私の責任。私があなたを産んだ。
Oh!
産んであげればよかった。
Wait!
そうすれば
Wait! So it's Kuadorian Beto? It's Kuadorian Beto. She gave birth to her. I would have held in my hand the key that would have saved your life. Kuadori. What? Oh, okay. See, I thought of her, to be fair. I did theorize her earlier. But then I went back on it just because she was introduced in episode 3. But I guess she was part of since episode 1 through 8. Okay, I can counter. See, I kind of got it right. Okay, it wasn't the Italian Beato. It was her daughter, Ecuadorian Beato, who gave birth to the to current Beato. That's insane. Okay. Bat was locked in the cat box and Angel was left alone in the future. So Ecuadorian Beato, I gave birth to you. So it's Ecuadorian Beato. Oh I should have given birth earlier? What does she mean by that? I should have given birth earlier. To Beto? What? Wait, what? What do you mean? But you got assaulted by your father. What do you mean you should have given birth earlier? That's weird. What? Oh, no, that was a completely messed up situation. No, what are you talking about? So it's Kuador and Beto then. She gave birth to Beto.
一体誰
So she gave birth to me? It can't be. The mom I'd only seen in portraits? No, it can't be that. What? It's impossible. Because I'm positive my mother escaped from Kuadorian with Rosa, then fell off a cliff to her death. Okay. That happened right after giving birth to me. It's true. If only she had given birth earlier. But why would that be impossible then? Moreover, right after I was born, I was left in Nazi's care. Okay. If she is my real birth mother, i.e. the previous Beatrice, then the riddle of the epitaph should have been after the important fork in the road of her destiny. But that's what she said. She said it's regrettable that I wasn't alive to be able to solve it with you, right? if she really was my mother, she should have said she regretted not raising me herself, or not being able to spend time with me in Kuradorin or something like that. What? What did she say? Did she not say that? I should have given birth earlier. That's why I don't really feel comfortable with the logic that she's my birth parent.
だが考えの線は多分的外れじゃない。
ああ、こやつはわらわを見下せる位置にいる何者かだ。それも高慢に見下すのではない。年派もいかぬ幼子を導くかのような。
It's from a place. What?
そんな信じがたいが慈愛ある立場の何者か。
So it's not Kuradorin, Beato?
わからないわ。
What?
本当にいたの？心当たりが本当にないわ。エンジェちゃん、あなたに心当たりがなくて当然よ。
Oh, I just got it. That took me way too long. I should have got that an hour ago. I probably should have got that an hour ago. My brain connected the pieces now. The pieces! Hey! See that? Dude, my head sunk in place, my heart sunk in place. I have the answer. Beto Battler, AG, pack it up. Amin's got the answer. I'm more intelligent than y'all. Honestly, I should have solved that an hour ago. My line of thinking an hour ago was so good. I should have solved it way earlier. Those red shoots. Oh, okay. I solved it now, y'all. I solved it. I'm like 99.999% sure now. How did it take me this long to get, man? The line of thinking I had at the start of the episode was perfect too. Why did it take me that long to? Everything was good. I should have kept that line of thinking was good, but I kept thinking of the Sumadera family. The original bit, Kinto was not a bad thought process, but man, okay, I have the answer now. I'm not gonna tell you guys just yet because I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm very sure this is the correct answer. I'm more just thinking, why didn't I think of her? Because my line of thinking was, why would she not say yes to the answer of? Does that mean we've met this person before? And the fact that she wouldn't answer yes to that, because typically she would in the episodes, that was perfect line of thinking for me. Because if she says yes, then it's one of the 18 people on the island, or one of the few people they met outside of the island, right? So my line of thinking was, okay, what person haven't they met, but they still know their name, and they, you know what I'm saying, they still know their name and of their existence. What kind of person could that be? And after all the hints till now, obviously I have the correct answer. But if I'd followed that line of thinking and gone a bit outside the box, I would have gotten the answer. Peace! I know who you are! Let me declare it in blue. And I have your motives and everything. I have your why done it, I've got everything. Peace, you are Ushiromiya Asumu! Yep. It all tracks. I mean, the biggest hit was at the end there with "I gave birth to you." right? It was kinda if she should have given birth earlier, and now she's saying, Angie, of course you wouldn't recognize me. Yeah, I mean that tracks. That completely tracks. I really should have thought of this earlier, that it was her. And that line of thinking was so good. I don't know why I didn't think of her Asumi earlier. It has to be Asumi, because because why would she? I was so right in thinking, why wouldn't she answer yes, dude? Is that a person we've met before? Have we met you before? And she said, I'm not gonna answer that. That would restrict the amount of the people. It could be a lot. I'm like, no, it wouldn't. But it would restrict in the sense that if Peace had answered, no, you haven't met me before, but you know my existence and my name, and it's someone that has appeared from a small to episode 8, boom, it's awesome. That is again. I was thinking Kenzo. I was thinking, not awful lines of thinking, but Kenzo's someone that Angie should have met at some point in her life, even before Kenzo's death, which happened in 1984. Even though Angie was born in 1980, there would have been a few years at the start of her life where she would have been able to meet Kenzo. So even though Angie currently barely has any memories of him and might not even know how he looks like exactly, unless they made portraits of Kenzo or something. Um, she should have been able to meet Kinzo. But Asumi makes a lot more sense because Asumi died years ago, right? Asumi died around the time Angie was born, right? She died 6 years ago. So she would have died, yeah, Asumi would have died around 1980. That tracks completely. That tracks completely. I was just not expecting Asumi to be the answer. Okay. And obviously, yeah, obviously you would have motive to kill Kiria and Angie and to take over the place as Rudolph's wife. And it would explain why Angie was there like, you're not my mother. That explains that inconsistency. Yup, I mean, it tracks. The motive is there. And then she says that for the victims that it didn't have a motive to kill, i.e., Kinzo and the servants, Kanon Shannon, but she had to be able to infiltrate, to be able to replace Kiria and infiltrate, she had to kill them off. Kind of covering her tracks. Right! Because they would have known about the baby swapping thing? No, they wouldn't have. No. Isn't Rudolph the only one that knows about the baby swapping thing? And then he admitted it to, was it Cross and Nazi? In one of the episodes, he admitted it to Cross and Nazi that he swapped the babies, as in Battler and the stillbirth baby that Asumi gave birth to. The stillborn baby. So only Rudolph would have known, and only Rudolph could have admitted it. There's no way Kinzo and the other servants would know, and Genji. They would not have known. But it still killing them was a necessity for her to be able to infiltrate the game board. For Asumu. And she's always had the ability, but my master's only now giving me the ability to use it. To kill Kiria and take over as the new wife. Killing Kinzo, Kanon, Shannon, Genji, and was a necessity though. And Beato. That was a necessity for her to be able to come in. Okay. Well, we have the answer now. Even though you know my name, we have never met even once. Yeah, it's Asumu.
会ったことは私はこうして駒の魔女になるまであなたの
Ah,
存在さえも知りは
yeah,
し
she
なか
died
った
before Angie was born,
じゃ
or around the time she was born.
逆に聞くわ
How have you guys not figured this out yet? Y'all are stupid. Come on, she's basically told you who she is. I figured it out after like this first sentence. These are all this. If I hadn't figured it out by this point, I'd definitely figure it out after all these hints. Until we came to Witcher Please, I did not know your name or even that you existed. This nails it down pretty harshly.
存在さえも知り
お兄ちゃんはベアとはあんた
Yes,
に
sir.
会ったことがあるというの
100%. She did, yes.
あるわよもちろん人間としての二人にねただ会ったことがあるだけじゃない趣味を聞いた流行りを聞いた何が好きなのかを聞いた今日や明日の天気や あるいは波打ち際に見つけた変わった形の貝殻なんて本当に意味のない会話をいくらもした。
I don't know about meaningless.
あなたたちの楽しそうな顔が見られるなら私はいつだって何時間だっておしゃべりをすることができた。
What was Asumi's cause of death again? I don't know if they ever revealed that, did they? They just said she died, maybe of illness or something? Oh, she died around the time Angel was born, or just before Angel was born, around there. 6 years ago, they mentioned that. Peak! Peak has arrived! I'm just gonna shut up. What is this witch talking about with this Peak OST in the background? I can't tell if she's giving the solution or another mystery. Nah, she's spelled it out to you, Battler. There's no way you haven't figured it out by now. Come on, man. She's told you plainly who she is. Do you really not know who I am? Hurry up. Isn't what I'm doing right now the verbal equivalent that's kicking and screaming? It really is. I understood up to that. But then, why do I not remember who she is? I can't stop crying from the disappointment and frustration. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Damn it, ah!
私だけが会ったことがなくて、彼女もまた私に会ったことも存在さえも知らなかった。
This is the best soundtrack ever. I don't care what anyone says.
こやつは後ろ宮家の縁者なのに縁者の存在さえも知らぬだと。
確かに当時の私はよく病気になって親族会議を休んだそうだけど、でもそれでも私は隠し子なんかじゃない。後宮家の人間なら全員が後宮縁者の存在を知っていたはず。
Come on, Battler. This is your real mother, brother. If anyone should figure it out, it's he, bro. Battler's eyes were wide open. Within his heart, he then was certain he had found the core of the Witch of Pieces' true form, yeah? Battler would be the one to figure out first. That's your real mother, bro. That's your real... I'm sorry, Kitty, but that's the mother he really grew up with, man. That entire story is so sad. Rudolph is a messed up father, bro. There was no basis for it. There was no evidence for it either. Nor was there a puzzle piece for guessing the culprit's identity. But even so, he was sure of his answer. Yeah, I was sure of my answer too the moment I thought about it. The heart was there, bro. Without heart, it cannot be seen. I had the heart to see it, bro. That's bro. There's no such mystery where you can be sure of the answer when you can't even form a guess. Therefore, this was fantasy. Otherwise, she couldn't be here. Or exist here.
あんた
Beato had also noticed that Battler seemed to have seen through the identity of the witch. But compared to Battler, she was far away from the answer. Of course Battler would figure it out. Therefore, she needed a piece of reasoning.
登場するためになぜ誰かが消えねばならんのか。
ベアとたちだけじゃない。俺たちには同時に存在できない人物がいたんだ。
わからないわ。ベアとのように
人物が
わからないわ。ベアとのように家具を生み出していた人間が他にいたというの？
違う、そうじゃない。出会うことのできない一人の人間たちじゃないんだ。二人の人間であっても後宮家の親族会議に同時に存在できない人間たちがいるんだよ。
誰？そんな人、私知らない。
You weren't alive when she was alive. As tears fell from Angie's face into her teacup, she scratched her head in anger over her own weakness, but she still didn't stop thinking. I don't remember her. I want to remember. I need to remember. I want to accept them. As the last survivor of the Ushuruma family, as the witch of the future, isn't that my sole responsibility?
エンジェちゃん、私はあなたに意地悪をしたくてこの場にわざわざ呼びつけた。私は
They changed from the peak OST. I'm mad. But honestly, this extra arc was really needed. This extra, honestly, we needed an arc focused on Asumi. Asumi got so little screen time in the main visual novel. This was necessary. 100%. I'm clapping. This was necessary. We needed this. We needed a conclusion to Asumi. I didn't even think that we needed it, but this was necessary. I'm really glad I read this now. I'm glad I read Our Confession. That was a nice read, but I'm definitely glad I read this. Okay. Very worthwhile.
あなたという存在とは相入れない駒だから。
But I met you, and I understand now. Your single mindedness, your clumsiness, but also your straight lacedness. All that was inherited from your brother.
私たちは出会えていたらきっと仲良くなれていた。それを
Straight lacedness, huh?
確信できた。それだけでも今日ここであなたと会うというありえない奇跡を、ファンタジーを心から感謝する。
まさかこやつこやつ
Okay. Beatus figured it out now. Nice.
そうだ、彼女は
She's your mother, bro.
エンジちゃん、横島な私はキリエさんにだけでなくあなたにまで復讐をしようとした。でも女のいがみ合いは当事者の2人が揃って棺桶の中にまで持ち込むのが正解だった。会ったこともないのに彼女の娘というだけの理由であなたを傷つけて自分の心を慰めようという、そんなくだらない目的のためにここにあなたを呼んでしまったことを私は仮にも人の親として心から走るわ。会ったことないけど、写真でしか見たことないけど、
Okay, and you figured it out too now.
知ってるわ。あなたのこと思い出した。思い出した。
Yes, I hated you too, just by seeing you smile in a picture. In a family photo without me, Dad and Onichan were smiling at the family I didn't know, in a way reserved for family members, which I detested. I wasn't alive then, but I was still jealous. That's right. We couldn't meet due to the wheels of time, and even if we did meet, we wouldn't have been able to stay together. You and I sit on opposite sides of the seesaw, with Dad as the fulcrum. We cannot exist at the same time as family members.
あんたの名前は
Asumu. In Japanese. We got it in Japanese, y'all. Dad's late wife, who passed away before I was born. Do you get to see the design? Oh, no, never mind. I thought we were gonna get to see how Asumu looks like.
その答えはまだ
I still wish we do get to see how she looks like. Do you know how she looks like?
少しだけ取っておいて。なぜならあなたには私の持参した最低のかけらをまだ否定することができるのだから。
Battler, Angie, and Beato. Since they have already come to a consensus, the answer should already be accepted. And yet, why did Peace, no, Asumu, still want to hear from Angie's mouth?
それでは不分けを始めましょう。それでは不分けを始めましょう。猫はめでて殺して二度楽しめるそうですから。
This was a fantasy about what if Asumu Ujiyomiya Ushiromiya had never died and had always been a member of the Ujiyomiya. Why are they twice? Once is it's once, but twice? Messing up Ushiromiya twice? Had never died and had always been a member of the Ushiroma family. Fairy tale. So long as Asumi was Rudolph's wife, she was a legitimate member of the family and thus invited to the family conference. True. Oh yeah, okay, we're 2 hours in. This is a good stopping point. I was gonna say like how long? Okay, and then after this we continue on. Okay, yeah, we'll finish this off next time. That was the hour of that was the hour of the day for now. But yeah, I'm starting to get hungry. I did say I was hungry at the start of this part, and we've recorded for I don't know over an hour now, or maybe or an hour and a half. Too. I don't know how long this video is, but yeah, I think it's time for me to go go eat some food maybe, and then I'll come back to record the last part for y'all. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Very, like I said, very necessary extra arc. I did not even realize. Honestly, this is to me this is so important. It arguably should have been part of the main story, or it's I don't know about how I don't know how you'd incorporate it into the main story though. That's the thing. How? Because Asumi is such a extracurricular character. It almost feels like you know what I'm saying, but yeah, I'm very glad I read this. You know, going into because I've gone into these blind, right? These extra art. I mean, I went to Umineko in general blind, so I didn't know what they were gonna be about or anything at all. But very glad that you guys recommended to read this, and I do think it was necessary to get this. And of course, we still have not reached the emotional conclusion between Asumu and Battler and Angie, which I'm sure we'll reach next part because next part we have another hour to go. So a bunch still left to do. But yeah, for sure. This part at least we got to figure out her identity, and yeah, next part we will conclude it off fully. I think this is a good place to stop at least. Yeah, I think so because now we're back in the family conference here. So after the characters as well have figured out her identity, um, I'm a bit disappointed myself for not figuring out earlier. Honestly, I should have figured. I honestly could have figured out as early as 50 minutes in. Honestly, the moment this happened, bro, this red truth, where she said, "I existed from episode 1 through 8," and then she said, when after said, "This is someone we've recognized," and she said, "Yes, you know my existence by name. You know of my existence of my name." And then Angie said, "Oh, so you're someone we've met?" And she said, "No, that would restrict the amount of possibilities. It could be too much." At that, if I kept thinking on that line of thinking of why would she not answer, if I kept going with that, I would have figured out it was, or if I kept going better with that, you know, if my mind had just been flexible to think of Asumu, I think I would have reached the answer earlier. But I mean, I can't be too harsh on myself. I don't think the line of thinking that okay, maybe Kinzo's technicality or the Kyodorin Beto, that was a very good one for me. Kyodorin Beto or the Italian Beto, Castiglione. That was a good line of thinking from me. I personally think so. I don't think that was a bad line of thinking from me to think that it could have been them. And Beto thought it could have been them too, because you know, Asumi or Peace started talking about, oh, I should have given birth to you earlier. Should have given, you know, I gave birth to you. So even she thought, oh, maybe is she talking about my mother, Kurodorin Beto? So even you know, it wasn't terrible line of thinking. It could have been, um, but I still feel like the fact that she specifically killed Kirie and then took over as Rudolph's wife, and then Angel's the only one to be like, "You're not my mother," and then she swallowed up Angie too. That should have, with that information along with the red truth, should have given it pretty clear to me that okay, and with her not confirming that she's someone that they've met before, or at least Angel's met before, that should have been very clear to me. It should have made it clear to me that it's Asumu. But yeah, it took me longer to realize or to figure it out. But as soon as it did, my brain clicked immediately. Like, oh yeah, I know it. And it's the same with everyone else. Even Battler and the narrator said there was no deduction to it. Like there is no specific proof or anything like that. It is Asumu, but you just know because your heart is there. Like you know the why. Like you know what I'm saying. You know the motive behind this. So even if there is no specific item that proves that it's her, if there's no specific thing, this is a fantasy situation in which Asumu existed, and but for her to exist, these other pieces needed to go. So Angie and Kiria needed to go. Um. So yeah, for sure. I'm glad this was made. I'm glad you know Ryukishi created this extra arc and made it for just for that. Um, just to close off the story of Battler, Angel, and Asumi, that whole thing, and Kitty and Rudolph as well. I hope you get more. more Kiria scenes, right? Because we need. I feel like not Kiria, Kiria too, but also but Rudolph. I think Rudolph really. So hopefully in the next hour that I'm gonna read next time, Rudolph addresses the whole Asumi thing. Um, because I feel like his position in this is very crucial in why this entire family ended up being the mess it ended up being. The specific mess we ended up having is because of the way he was a cheater, right? Infidelity and swapping babies. I mean, this man, he did some filthy things, and that affected Angie and Battler pretty badly, but especially Angie later in life pretty badly. And Kiria also was left in a very rough spot. But it was a wife war of like, okay, who would be the official wife, right? So that was going on, but it's just on Rudolph for being a bad husband and a bad parent, honestly. So I hope we get to see a Rudolph scene where he addresses that, even though he did address it in the main visual novel too. I mean, since we're already here and discussing Asumi in this extra arc, I think a Rudolph scene would be necessary. Of course, I'm sure we're gonna get Battler and Angie and their feelings resolved with peace next time, but I hope Rudolph gets his peace too, and Beto honestly doesn't have that much involvement, direct involvement in this for me. So I wonder what Beto, Beto's role is gonna be for the next time. But yeah, and then I wonder if anything's going to be done with Kitty in this regard, right? Being like, you know what, like I'm sorry about the whole wife war thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we both should have been more respectful women to each other or something. I don't know. But that's it for this time. I will continue next time for the finale of Last Note of the Golden Witch, as well as you know, the finale of Umineko in general. I mean, no more Umineko after this, right? So yeah, it's late. Go to sleep. No, I just woke up not too long ago. In fact, so absolutely not. Quite the opposite. I'll stay awake. Um, I'm guessing this is like a music compilation thing. Okay, so yeah, what is this? Oh, okay, someone else reading Umineko. I was like, what is this? Umineko Speak Fiction? Okay, okay. Bunch of YouTube videos here on the side by Umineko. But okay, um, yeah, that's it for me, y'all. I will continue on with um, I will continue on with yeah, the finale this next time. Let's just do this. And I hope you guys enjoy watching this at least as much as I enjoyed reading it. Next time we'll finish it off, alright? Alrighty, righty. Oh, this is it, but in Japanese. Wait, what? Oh! Oh, dang! Okay. Alright, we didn't get to see that first Saku this time around. We didn't get to see... So wait, why does this person have the option for Umineko Saku, but I didn't? Is it not part of Umineko project? It's part of whatever this visual novel thing they have is? I don't know, I didn't... Mine didn't look like this. Okay, at least they've got Umineko Saku. But it is in Japanese though. I guess this is like a English translation of it that they made. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'll continue this on next time. Like I said, and that will be it for Umineko officially, fully next time. So, yeah. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this much. Enjoyed reading through Last Note so far. And all right, y'all. Peace.